Hello, and welcome to Daily Space for today, Wednesday, June 3rd. I am your host, Annie Wilson, most Mondays through Fridays. Our team will be here putting science into your brain. Usually, Wednesdays are for Rocket Roundup, and we have some catching up to do. Let's get to it, shall we? First up, a JAXA. JAXA? A JAXA H2 Bravo rocket launched the HTV-9 mission, aka Kutanari 9, on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020 at 5:51 p.m. UTC. The mission patch is a gold ring around a blue and yellow graphic of the HTV capsule with a yellow image of the ISS in the distance against a black background. The text H2 transfer vehicle and mission designation HTV-9 are in the yellow ring. The Japanese characters say Kutanari 9. Oh shoot. Did I really? Let's try this again. It's not daily space without mess ups, right? Right. All right. Do 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 do. I love you, Allie. Hello, and welcome to Daily Space for today, Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. I am your host, Annie Wilson. Most Mondays through Fridays, our team will be here putting science into your brain. Usually Wednesdays are for Rocket Roundup, and we have some catching up to do. Let's get to it, shall we? So first up is JAXA. A JAXA H2 Bravo rocket launched the HTV-9 mission, aka Kutanari 9, on Wednesday, May 20th, 2020 at 5:51 p.m. UTC. The mission patch is a gold ring around a blue and yellow graphic of the HTV capsule with a yellow image of the ISS in the distance against a black background. The text H2 transfer vehicle and mission designation HTV-9 are in the yellow ring. The Japanese characters say Kutanari 9. There were two lasts for this flight. This was the last flight for the H2 Bravo rocket. The first flight of the new H3 rocket is planned for later this year. This was also the last Kutanari. A new Japanese cargo vessel is expected to launch in 2022. So a lot of cargo did go to the ISS on HTV-9. 6,200 kilograms. That is 3,100, so 3,100 2-liter soda bottles for Americans. 4,300, so 4,300 kilograms were in the pressurized compartment, and 1,900 kilograms were in the unpressurized compartment. So on board, on board were a solid combustion experiment module. That module will continue research on combustion microgravity. Additionally, 6 new lithium-ion batteries for the space station and fresh bell peppers, kiwi, and citrus fruits for the crew. All of those fruits and vegetables were grown in Japan. One of the experiments was a wireless Lan demonstration, otherwise known as WILD. I know, there's no I, it's still pronounced wild. WILD was an experiment that was performed during Kutanari 9's flight. This was tested during approach, where the video taken by a camera attached to the craft's propulsion module was broadcast in real time on board the space station via wireless data link. The technology tested by WILD will enable ISS crews to monitor approaching vehicles during an autonomous docking. This was the first time two spacecraft communicated via WLAN during a rendezvous. And yeah, we got video.
Activating the thermal batteries. 電システム準備完了。
All systems are go.
メインエンジンスタート。
We have main engine ignition.
SRBA 点火、リフト。
Igniting the SOBS and liftoff.
HTP ロケット9号機は2020年5月21日午前2時31分00秒に種子島宇宙センターから打ち上げられました。
We have the liftoff of the H2B launch vehicle number 9 during a momentary night from Space Center at 2:31:00 a.m. on May 21st, 2020, Japan Standard Time.
打ち上げ以降、ロケットの管制は吉信発射管制塔から竹崎総合司令塔に引き継がれています。
Following liftoff, the operation control of the launch vehicle has been switched from the blockhouse to the range control center.
ロケットは現在、徐々に南東方向の太平洋上へ飛行しています。
The H2B is now flying above Pacific Ocean to the southeast.
ロケットは正常に飛行中であり、種子島の地上局は正常にロケットの追尾を行っています。
The H2B flight is in course and the Tanegashima station is tracking the launch vehicle very well.
80、81、82、83、84、85、86、87、88、89、90。 SRBA 燃焼終了。
SOBS have burned up.
SRBA 第1ペア分離、第2ペア分離。
Separation of the first and second pairs of SOBS.
So what you see are the boosters being separated. Ta-da! Okay, next up, on May 22nd at 7:31 a.m. UTC, Russian armed forces launched a Soyuz 2.1 Bravo rocket with the Cosmos 2546 mission. This was a military mission, so details are a little scarce. Here's what we know. The payload was the Tundra 14 Lima satellite that will be used for an early warning system replacing the aging USK and USKMO constellations. This is the fourth satellite in the newer Tundra constellation. The satellite was placed in a Molniya orbit, which is highly elliptical and highly inclined. When I say highly elliptical, I don't mean a teeny tiny bit egg-shaped. We're straight into severely stretched territory with altitudes ranging from 600 to nearly 40,000 kilometers above Earth. Take that long oval of an orbit and place it at a 63-degree angle relative to Earth's equator, and you get that highly inclined orbit. So what's the purpose of this odd orbit? Thanks to orbital mechanics, a Molniya orbit is uniquely situated to providing useful satellite coverage for Earth observation and communication services needed by ground terminals operating in high northern latitudes. Those areas are not easily serviceable from satellites in the typical geosynchronous orbits over the equator because any antenna you're using would be pointing at such a low angle that a small hill could easily block the path of a signal. And even though polar orbiting satellites can see these same latitudes, they only have a coverage of any given spot for several minutes at a time. The Molniya orbit is inclined in such a way that the desired areas are not only clearly visible, the satellite is able to pause for a time at the highest point thanks to orbital mechanics, which provides several hours of uninterrupted coverage that low Earth orbit and GEO satellites can't simply match. It's a wild orbit. Not the most exciting launch video, but hey, that was a launch video. All right, next up, on Monday, May 25th at 7:50 p.m. UTC, Virgin Orbit conducted a test of Launcher 1, its air-launched rocket just off the coast of California. Unlike other companies, Virgin Orbit uses a heavily modified 747 named Cosmic Girl as the launch platform for its rockets. Basically, they attach a rocket to the belly of Cosmic Girl, fly out over the ocean in a racetrack pattern, and at the appropriate time, release the rocket. A few seconds later, the engine on the rocket ignites and off it goes. All of the pre-launch activities, the trip to the test area, the final countdown, and the release worked perfectly. They had a clean release, and Launcher 1 successfully ignited its booster engine, a first for Virgin Orbit. Shortly after ignition, there was an anomaly in the first stage of flight, and the mission was aborted. Cosmic Girl and its crew returned to Mojave Air and Spaceport without further incident. While they didn't make it to orbit, Virgin Orbit is still very happy with the test because they were able to gather data on how the first stage performed, the aerodynamics, and their control algorithms, which allow them to make changes before their next test. Their next rocket is nearly finished being constructed, and there's another 6 for follow-on missions. They've got all of these rockets being built at the same time to allow them to do a number of tests in rapid succession.
So our team got to the launch site very early in the morning. We prepared our rocket, we prepared our airplane, we went through our checks of our mission control center, and we got into our operations. The launch team then walked out and checked out the ground equipment, and we flowed propellant into the rocket. We verified that everything was healthy, and then we disconnected it. And our flight crew boarded the airplane and taxied out and took off from Mojave Air and Spaceport. We climbed to first 10,000 feet, did our initial checkout, and then went up to our flight altitude of 35,000 feet, entered a racetrack pattern. The system then moved automatically through pressurizing our propellant tanks, activating our systems. The pilots then pulled up the 747 and dropped the rocket off the airplane. The rocket then went into a control mode. As it moved through the atmosphere, we ignited the first stage. We then guided the rocket to its trajectory, and at that point we did have an issue in the system and the engine shut down. Clearly some disappointment that we didn't get to finish the flight and take it to orbit, But we were all prepared for that. We collected an enormous amount of data, verifying air launch, separation of the rocket, control of the rocket. We've got an enormous amount of data about the aerodynamics in free space, in powered flight, and we verified our controls algorithms as we guided the rocket with our first stage engine. Our engineers are pouring through the data now. We'll be applying lessons learned to our next rocket, which is right here in the factory being prepared. We'll make whatever modifications we need to, and we'll get to the next flight.
Next up, I told you this was a long one. A China Long March 11 rocket launched the XJS G and H mission on Friday, May 29th, 2020 at 8:13 p.m. UTC. The payload for this mission is super secret. No, seriously, there's not a lot of other information about the launch. What we do know is that 2 technology demonstration satellites were carried into low Earth orbit. While not much is known about the specific operations of these spacecraft, CASC reports that they will mainly focus on testing new Earth observation technologies as well as inter-satellite communications between members of the constellation. Something to note, this was the first launch from Xichang for the solid fuel Long March 11. And because I know some of you like to see the aftermath, here is the first stage that was dropped over China.
那么也你把它造成快死呢？真快死！哟。不是咱们也这火箭呢？俺火箭是大火箭了。不是国家给，不是国家给。
After years of development and a single weather-related delay, on May 30th, 2020, at 7:22 p.m. UTC, SpaceX launched a Dragon crew capsule atop a Falcon 9 rocket with 2 humans on board, Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken. When they lit this candle up, they burned through 2 stages of highly refined kerosene-based RP-1 fuel and liquid oxygen. After safely reaching orbit, Doug and Bob announced the final name of their capsule. From then on, Demo 2 would be known as Endeavour. The name memorializes the Space Shuttle Endeavour, which was the first spacecraft both astronauts flew to orbit. The shuttle was named after the HMS Endeavour, which carried Captain James Cook on his first voyage of discovery in the late 1700s. While everyone was captivated by the SpaceX spacesuits, the touch panels, the real star of the show was Tremor, an Apatosaurus plush made by TY that had been selected from Bob and Doug's kids' toys to serve as a zero-G indicator. Exactly whose son's toy was borrowed has not been revealed. If the suits look like something out of a comic book, well, they could be. The suits were designed by Hollywood costume designer Jose Fernandez, who has designed suits for Batman, X-Men United, and the Fantastic Four. Demo 2's ultimate destination was the International Space Station, which it reached in just 19 hours. Once on board, Doug Hurley completed a multi-decade game of Capture the Flag and claimed a small U.S. flag that was originally flown on STS-1 in 1981 and was he and his crewmates left when they flew on STS-135. After that last shuttle flight, it was President Obama who said that Boeing and SpaceX would now be playing a game of Capture the Flag to bring that flag back home. Doug had no idea back in 2011 that he would ever return to space, let alone return to it in such a historic way 9 years later. In addition to carrying Bob, Doug, and Tremor, Endeavour had a standard load of cargo that included basics like food.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed for launch.
Under a minute now, the FTS, the flight termination system, has been armed.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon, we're go for launch. Let's light this candle.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Yeah, I started the video way earlier than I normally do.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Bob and Doug.
America has launched. And so rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream. 20 seconds into flight, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 30 seconds into this historic mission. Flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9, and look at them go.
Falcon power telemetry nominal.
M1D throttle down.
We're throttling down to get ready for the period of maximum dynamic pressure. We're in the throttle bucket. Reports say all systems are go.
Vehicle is supersonic.
We've exceeded Mach 1 on the Falcon 9.
M1D throttle up.
We're throttling back up to full power as we're through max Q.
Copy 1 Bravo.
And we heard that 1 Bravo call out. That's just the second abort zone that they're in. They'll continue to be on this until the first stage has done its job and they switch over to the second. At this point, Bob and Doug pulling about 2.3 Gs, 2.3 times the Earth's gravity, already moving at over 1,500 miles per hour.
We've heard the call out for MVAC engine chill. That's getting the MVAC engine ready to light. That'll come at about 2:44 into flight. Right now, everything continuing to look good. Next major event coming up is going to be the triple. We'll have main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of the second stage engine to continue to carry astronauts into orbit. Coming up in about 20 seconds.
M1D throttle down.
We heard we're throttling down the Merlin engines on the first stage. And we have MECO.
MECO.
2 Alpha.
Falcon stage separation confirmed.
Copy 2 Alpha.
MVAC ignition.
have stage separation confirmed. The first stage beginning its flight back. The second stage, being powered by that single Merlin 1D vacuum engine, has ignited and is now carrying Bob and Doug into orbit. So they're going to continue under the power of this second stage.
Stage 2 propulsion is nominal.
Which will cut off at SECO, or second engine cut off, at about 8 minutes and 44 seconds into today's flight. So a little over 5 minutes to go still on this second stage. You heard the call out to Alpha, so they're now in the longest abort zone that carries them all the way from about North Carolina up the eastern seaboard, almost to Canada. Things looking good, though, getting good call outs, nominal propulsion on that second stage. Bob and Doug continuing to make their way into orbit.
All right, so that was takeoff.
Now themselves.
Terminal guidance.
And back throttle step.
We are coming up 25 seconds or so away from SECO, or second engine cutoff.
This is also the point where Bob and Doug are experiencing their highest G-force. We're seeing the counter tick up to right about 3.8.
Copy, Shannon.
You heard Shannon, so that just means they're in their final abort zones. If they were to abort at this point, it would either be an abort to orbit or to land off the coast of Ireland. Standing by for second
Stage 1 landing
cutoff
startup.
confirmation.
And back throttle step. And back shutdown. Stage 1 landing.
Confirmation of SECO's second engine cutoff.
Now we are waiting for our first stage to make its way to our drone ship. Of course, I still love you.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal orbital insertion.
Didn't get confirmation, nominal
Dragon
orbital
copy.
insertion.
Nominal
Stage 1
orbital
landing
insertion.
deployed.
And what you're seeing on your screen is a live view of our drone ship, where our first stage will be coming down. Looks like we lost that live view, but we'll wait for confirmation of that landing shortly here.
Falcon 9 first stage successfully landed.
And there you can see on your screen, Falcon 9 has landed. This is the first Falcon 9 to carry humans to orbit, so very exciting for us. And as you can see on your right screen, Bob and Doug are still making their way to their targeted orbit.
M1D to recovery 1.
So exciting today.
M1D.
It doesn't stop.
It does not stop.
All right, we did hear again that call out, good orbital insertion, so that means Falcon 9 and Dragon right now exactly where they're supposed to be.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
And it's right at about 12 minutes.
There it goes.
When Dragon will separate. Looks like we saw a 0G indicator floating around there. I know Bob and Doug owe us a little bit about what exactly that is that they brought up with them.
I love that 0G indicator. So, while things generally went flawlessly with the Crew Dragon flight, yeah, the same cannot be said with the last test firing of the SN4 Starship prototype. After successfully test firing its engine, something went very, very wrong, and the vehicle and its surroundings were laid flat by a massive explosion. It's unclear what happened at this stage, but multiple videos indicate the fire started near the base of the rocket and may not have been the rocket itself that started the explosion. While this loss of yet another prototype will slow SpaceX, it won't slow them for long. This is just wild. There's another one. There's another view. This whole thing was just wild to watch. I think that was the test, and then I think the fire is coming up, maybe? Or they already suppressed the fire. I'm not sure. Michael is saying that it wasn't SN4's fault. Apparently, Elon Musk said that they decided to try the quick disconnect of the fuel lines, and after the static fire, presumably a valve stuck open. Okay, so Planetary Pan is saying that we'll see venting from SN4 first. Keeper is saying that there was a water hammer effect from closing a valve too quickly. There's the vent. Apparently this is in slow motion. And there it goes! Boom! So you could capture all of it. Yeah. Yeah. Michael adds that Elon Musk apparently made that comment on a video after a press conference, but doesn't know which video. Yeah, this was wild. This was wild. And for those looking for additional information and videos on this, Wayne Johnson is sharing that Scott Manley on YouTube has some good videos. All right, I'm just going to go to the next slide because this is just burning now. All right, so according to the images coming from Boca Chica Gal, SN5 and SN6 are already taking shape on the Texas coast. Boca Chica Gal her name is Mary, and she lives in Boca Chica and goes and does a lot of the legwork for NASA spaceflight forums to go and capture photos and videos of this whole process. So we really do owe her a lot of gratitude for going and doing all the legwork and capturing all of these fantastic explosions after waiting for hours and hours and hours and seeing nothing happen. Okay. Oh, she doesn't live there anymore, Larry. Okay, well, she did live there. But yes, Boca Chica Gal is the source of all of these wonderful photos and videos of all the SN failures? Yeah, we'll go with failures. Anyways, finally, this is our last rocket for Rocket Roundup this week. All right, a Long March 2 Delta rocket launched the Gaofen 902 mission on Sunday, May 31st at 8:53 a.m. UTC. The mission patch is a gold bordered triangle with the mission designation in black text and a Long March rocket against a starry backdrop. The two-stage toxic nitrogen tetraoxide and unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine fueled Long March 2 Delta carried Gaofen 902 to a sun-synchronous orbit where it joined a constellation of similar satellites. It will be part of state-sponsored program China High Definition Earth Observation System. According to Xinhua News, Gaofen 902 is an optical remote sensing satellite with a ground pixel resolution up to sub-meter level, used for things such as urban planning, road network design, and disaster prevention. Also on board the Long March 2 Delta was HEAD 4, a 45 kilogram satellite developed by Beijing HEAD Aerospace Technology Corporation. It will be used for global collection of space navigation status, flight status, and Internet of Things information. Nothing wants to autoplay. We broke it, y'all. Both of the satellites. To wrap things up, here's a running tally of a few spaceflight statistics for the current year. There are 4 toilets in space. We have burned up 2 toilets in orbit, or upon reentry, excuse me. Total new satellites in orbit, 412 since the beginning of the year. That includes those launched from other in-orbit craft like the ISS. Directly from launches are 396 satellites. There have been 39 launch attempts for 2020, including 5 failures. I keep track of orbital launches by where they launched from, otherwise known as spaceport. Here's that breakdown. USA 13, China 12, Kazakhstan 4, Russia 3, French Guiana 2, Iran 2, Japan 2, New Zealand 1. Your useless space fact from the week comes to us from Carlos Alfaro, who shares that in 1963 about, that's a whole big number, give me a second to parse this, 480 million copper dipole antennas, needles, were placed in orbit between 3,500 kilometers and 3,800 kilometers to facilitate global radio communication. As of March 2020, 36 clumps of needles were still known to be in orbit. That's wild. That's wild. Oh my. And that rounds out our show for today. Thank you all for listening. I have been your host, Annie Wilson. Today's script was written and edited by Dave Ballard, Gordon Dewis, Allie Pelfrey, Pamela Gay, and myself. Our web content will be produced by Beth Johnson. Our executive producer and fearless leader is Dr. Pamela Gay. This has been a production of the Planetary Science Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to exploring our solar system and beyond. We are here thanks to the generous contributions of people like you. Want to become a supporter of the show? Check us out at patreon.com/CosmicQuestX. But before you do that, it is plague times. We are okay. You do not need to donate. We'll be fine. Take care of yourself first. All right, so there were a whole lot of questions during the show. I'm going to scroll back through chat and see what I can find, and hopefully I will be able to answer all of them. So first, unbirth the lapdog. All right, there you go. Be free. Be free. Okay, so I know the last question I saw was, oh, there's a launch tonight, Astrowise. Here's a launch tonight, but yeah, soon the New Zealand number is going to go up. So yes, Larry, there is only one Soyuz docked at ISS. So there's one Soyuz, there's a toilet on Soyuz, there's a toilet on, and then there's a toilet on the Crew Dragon, and then there's 2 toilets on the ISS. So yes, right now there are 4 toilets. So, and Larry had made a comment about, I thought Boca Chica Village is no longer inhabited. SpaceX bought the village. There are still people living in Boca Chica. They get knocks on their doors, I guess, in the middle of the night, and papers left stating when there will be tests and such, because that's the most reliable way to communicate all of that to the residents. Before SpaceX moved in, I understand that it was a retirement community that was fairly low cost of living, had access to the beach, and now they have rockets that kind of disrupt their lives. So if you're really into rockets, that's probably a great place to be. If you just wanted to have a quiet retirement with access to the beach, I don't know. This is all beyond my pay grade. Anyways, so there's some back and forth about Boca Chica gal, whether or not she moved. It's unclear if she moved. Maria moved, but they think Mary still lives there. So that's back and forth is from Michael and Larry. So, and yes, Hanny, when SN is totally done, it will be an amazing compilation video. So, scrolling. And yeah, Hanny, the boosters are huge. They look small in the video because we don't have anything really in the video for scale. But yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Comments about dinosaurs being launched into space. Hanny's asks, was this a light payload for the Falcon F9? It seems like they were out of there pretty quick. I really don't know. I didn't look up the mass for this particular thing because it was more important that there were so many things to cover, and it was more important to get, who was on board, why this was a thing. So, no, it's tonight, Pamela. It's tonight. Oh yeah, caffeine, water, and extra spoons do get me peppy. So, Arnstro bans CosmoQuest for lying about his contributions. So the bit about the Molnia orbit, I was saying this before the show, so probably before Dave came on. We will probably forever use that bit about the Molnia orbit. So yes, Dave, you did contribute to the script because we copy-pasted that quite literally from an older version. So yes, Dave, you did contribute. Don't be down on yourself. Arnstro says gentrified is one way of putting it for Boca Chica. So, yeah. Broken Symmetry says, I wonder if you can move there now. I really don't know. I really don't know. So, any other questions? Because if you asked anything before SpaceX, it got cut off. My chat doesn't go back that far. And I understand there were a whole lot. And I really could not have put this all together without all of the help from literally the team, because we are a team. So thank you, Allie. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Pamela. Because, yeah, this was a lot. This was a lot. Dave pipes in with the Crew Dragon trajectory is shallower than most F9 cargo and satellite launches. Okay. So maybe that's why it looks like it takes off faster. So Michael says the only problem with the offer is that the houses in Boca Chica are very cheap, so there really wasn't enough to buy another house in an equivalent position elsewhere. So that problem pops up in places that have low cost of living, is that it is so cheap to live there that it is very difficult to leave if you don't have the additional means to do so. But if you have earning capability, it is within your best interest to leave because you'll earn more money. It's this weird catch-22, and places with low cost of living can kind of end up being black holes for the people that don't have the means to move out of them. So, yeah. Things that you did not come here to learn. Anyways. Any other questions? So, Keeper goes on. Eminent domain expropriation is about giving you fair market value, not how much you'll need to buy elsewhere. Yeah. Anyway. Moving on, any other questions that don't involve real estate or Boca Chica? Because we're just not going to touch that one. Let's stay focused on the rockets, y'all. Stay focused on the rockets. While I give you time to think about that, I'm going to have some more of my caffeinated water. All right. Michael asks, am I going to cover the Starlink launch? Probably. And who is covering the Electron launch? All right, let's look to see how early this Electron launch is, because I have strong feelings about that, if it's early. The Electron launch is... All right, so tonight, the latest weather update was probably, it looks like it was 10:06 a.m. local time for me. So within the last 3 hours. It says weather tonight for the launch is 60% chance of favorable at lunchtime. And the Electron launch is on June 10th, right before midnight. Let me open up my calendar. That's really late next Wednesday. So it looks like that'll be me too. And then the next launch after that is Vega on the 18th. So we got a whole bunch of rocket launches in, and then it's going to be kind of slow for the next week, because this is just how it is. Yeah, for a lot of you, it'll be either very late or very early. I'll probably still live stream it. Oh shoot, it's a wide launch window. Oh my, I keep forgetting that they have long launch windows. No, I'll probably cover it because I'll be up anyways. Worst case scenario, we play bingo and talk random things. Oh, okay. I was like, what? I didn't do it. Oh, do you want a conference call this one, Dave? Because we have the technology, Dave. We have the technology. So, any other questions? Because I have a whining dog who is very upset that I don't have Cheerios for her. Michael says, maybe a Starship will do a hop in a couple weeks. Depends on how quickly they can replace the launch stand. So there are live, for those of you that are interested in the Starship progress, there are live streams we don't co-stream those because those streams are hours and hours and hours long. And hours and hours and hours long. So NASA Spaceflight Forums does an amazing job covering those. Yeah, they because they have a whole team of people that do them. So it's not just one person just talking into the void. They're all talking with each other. I think that makes longer live streams easier. So, Hanny's asks, are ISS launch windows always instantaneous, or was that just for this mission? They are always instantaneous. So, Keeper is correcting me and saying it depends on the mission, but all the ones that I can think of have been instantaneous. So, launch window was 10 seconds. That might as well be instantaneous. But it's pretty much down to orbital mechanics and how much fuel you have to get to where you need to be and things of that nature. Oh, palindromes for Cheerio bowls. I broke the jar. I broke the Cheerio jar. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for the bits. I can probably get Puck up here. Puck, do you want to... They saw Tinker earlier. Do you want to come up? Come on. I know. Come here. Come here, buddy. Oh, that's a little... Yes, meeting up with the ISS is the reason. Because the ISS is moving. They're literally trying to shoot a moving target. Well, not shoot a moving target, but meet up with a moving target. So they donated bits. I don't have anything to give you, though. I'm sorry. So... Yeah. Yeah. Oh, doggo. You are the bestest doggo. Okay. I'm gonna put you down now, okay? He's like, no, Mom, don't. New exercise pop-ups. Okay. I'm gonna put you down now. Oh! Oh no, what are you caught on? Alright, there we go. Now you can go down. There you go, buddy. Okay. I don't know what I knocked over. All right. Y'all got to see the dogs despite the lack of Cheerio jar. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go. I'm not seeing any whole other questions. I need to take care of the dogs. We need to get this all wrapped up so it can be put onto the internet. And I'm going to go and poke at other rocket stuff because the rockets just keep coming. So... Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Again, this has been a production at PSI. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for everything. Right now, just make sure you're taken care of, and I will see you probably later tonight. So, yeah. But until next time, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful insert time of day here. Stay safe, wash your hands, and do good. Do good. Now I have to awkwardly roll the credits because this is always awkward. But yeah, I will see you soon. Bye.